Okay, so it's 2024, right? And astrology is everywhere. Hear me out. I get it. I get it. Astrology is everywhere. You're probably tired of hearing it, but there is definitely something in this that you can receive and that can serve you well. So, most of us know our sun signs, right? Zodiac sign. I was born August 28th. So, the sun was in Virgo, and I am a Virgo. Ayo, shout out to my Virgos. Beep, beep, beep. And whilst that is so much of who I am, it goes way beyond that. It definitely does. So, that is what we're going to be talking about today. Secrets you should know about your rising sign. All right, welcome to Astrology with Love. My name is Love, and I am an astrologer and healer. I love astrology. It has absolutely changed my life, and I've been able to heal through that. So, what I have done for myself is what I would love to do and assist others with. So, let's get into it. Your ascendant. Okay, actually, before we get into that, I also wanted to explain that I do practice Hellenistic astrology, traditional astrology. So, in that, we use whole sign houses for our houses. And yeah, it's a little bit different if you practice or are into modern astrology, where you use Placidus, I believe. It can be a little bit different, but I feel like you should still be able to get something from this for sure. And if none of that made sense to you, ayo, it's all good. I hope you're still here. Okay. That being said, let's actually get into it. Okay. All right. So your rising sign, what is that? When you were born, the place you were born, at the time of birth that you came into this world, whatever zodiac sign was on the eastern horizon is your rising, would be your rising sign. So at the time I was born at, my rising sign, the zodiac sign present on the eastern horizon was Sagittarius. Therefore, I am a Sagittarius rising. So even though the sun was in Virgo, and lucky for me, the moon was also in Virgo, because why not? And other planets as well, but I won't get into the other planets. Just sun, moon, Virgo, and then rising, because at that time, Sagittarius was on the eastern horizon. So I'm a Sag rising, AO. And that part of astrology, I mean, we do talk about our sun, moon, rising all the time, but I feel like our rising just kind of like gets put out there and it's just like, yeah, it's my rising. And it doesn't get as much attention and respect that I feel that it deserves. So, that being said, like I said, the time is essential. And that can be something hard to get for myself. I was born in Denver. So, the time is actually written on my birth certificate. So, I was like, oh, nice. So, when I was getting really into this and diving deeper into astrology, I did have that reference, which is honestly such a lucky thing. Not a lot of people have their time, so just wanted to keep that in mind. If you don't have it on your birth certificate and your mother is still with us, present, you can ask her. And that being said, with asking your mom, she may not even quite remember like that exact time, because I mean, like, she's busy pushing your big ass head out, and not all moms are just like looking at the time like, oh shit, what time is it when this is happening? Some moms, yes, and some moms write stuff down right away. But if your mom didn't do that, please be nice. Like, let's have some grace for sure. I am a mother myself. I got two boys, and the last thing on your mind during that time is the time. So Let's be gracious, and I definitely wanted to make sure I said that. Uh, so yeah, you can birth certificate, ask your mom. Some people, if you do have access to the hospital you were born at, if you are able to call, you might be able to get a time in their records. Again, it depends where you're at because it's just different for everybody, right? In different parts of the world. So we just want to respect that. If you cannot do that and you cannot inquire with anybody else, then sometimes astrologers are able to rectify your chart and be able to place that first house for you. So you may not have an exact time, but you'll be able to know what your rising sign is. That way you can see the different houses in your chart. And houses is something that I'll mention a little bit later about our charts and like yeah, all that. But anyways, if you need a time rectification for your chart is a possibility. Not every astrologer does it. I do not do it. I've done it for my parents, but that's just because I'm around them, and you need to be able to relay your life back to the astrologer, because the astrologer will need to put certain life events in certain places. So okay, I feel like I have spent enough time talking about that. Bottom line is, with your rising sign, it is best if you have a time. If you don't have a time, I'm really sorry. I know it sucks. But hopefully you are able to find an astrologer who you trust and who is able to rectify your chart. Next thing I wanted to talk about is, so that being said, your rising sign, it occupies what we call your first house. So when you were born, all these wonderful luminaries, the sun and the moon, and then the planets were where they were. And those planets and luminaries fall into different places in what we call birth chart, which has 12 houses. So all the houses signify different parts of our life, different parts of who we are. And a really special thing is that time you were born in, so that Eastern horizon, like awakening moment sets the tone of everything else. So for me, it was Sagittarius, right? So Sagittarius will be my first house, and then Capricorn will be my second house, Aquarius my third, Pisces my fourth, and it keeps on going all the way around till we get to Scorpio being my 12th. And then we go right back again to Sagittarius being my first house. So all the houses, like I say, represent different things. But the really cool thing about the first house is that is a house of self. So it is the only house that represents you. And I love that. I really love that. And like I said, this was super instrumental for me in my journey of coming back to self, really, that I have been taking since 2019. And it has helped me realize who I am, because I feel like oftentimes in life, nobody can avoid this, but the natural conditioning that we go through as a child, you are brought into this life with so much spirit, and like depends on what your life looks like in this lifetime. Maybe you came into a lifetime of joy, of parents who are happily receiving you. Maybe you came into a lifetime of just one parent. Maybe you came into a lifetime and were immediately abandoned or wounded, or there's just so much. And so the conditioning begins, and we cannot stop it. And I mean, we're in this lifetime to learn, right? However, you get to an age where all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, what's going on? And for me, that was my Saturn return, and life feels completely unbearable. And I was like, I don't want to continue like this. Like, I can't go into my 30s like this, I will for sure kill myself. Like I'm not even trying to do this. Like Virgos. No thanks. I'd rather take the option out. And so then I had kids and then realized that I can't just take that option out. So going back to this journey, the most important thing for me was to know myself. So when I figured out like this Sag rising thing was such a revelation for me, and that's why I want to talk more about this, about your rising sign, because I feel like it can be such a revelation for other people. And now that I'm further along in my journey and I can meet with people and help them out as well, most people usually have such bad connotations attached to whatever their rising sign is. So it's like me being a Sag rising. It's like what I find for other people, it's like, oh my God, I like don't get along with Sages, or like they trigger me so much. Triggering is like a huge thing. Like Sages trigger me. And it's like, oh, okay, because you heavily have that energy within yourself. And so it's your first house. And in Hellenistic astrology, the first house represents your body and like your so much of your spirit as well, because it's almost like half and half because of where it's sitting. And it is so important to cooperate. Oh my gosh. Could I say this word? What have I even trying to say? It's so important for these two things to be joined together and cooperating on a level that is balanced. And so what I realized is that I cannot go on with my life without tending to myself, because if I don't figure out myself, I can't figure out anything else, and I can't be a good mom to my kids, and I can't be, a good daughter to my parents, and I can't be a good sister, I can't be a good partner, I can't be all these things that I needed to be at the time. And that's the journey begins. And so here you go. So I took it. And a really cool thing too is that because it represents, that first house represents yourself, the more I got to understand Sagittarius energies, the more I got to understand myself. And because Sag is fire and it's so different from Virgo, that's earth, it was like there's always this push and pull within myself. Like so much of me always just wants to be at home, cleaning, organizing, reading my books, like on my grind. And then there's a part of me that's like, let's go out. And before, when I was in my early 20s, I found that I drank so much to silence the Virgo side of myself in order for the Sagittarius side that's wild and carefree to come out and be like, hey world. And because it's my first house, it's like Sag energy that's fiery, but it's also like, look at me. So like, and it takes a lot of alcohol to silence a lot of Virgo. So at that time I was drinking a lot too, which is something that I've been able to defeat, and just be able to have control of myself and be able to let my Sag side shine, my rising, which very much resembles myself, but also allow the Virgo part to not be silenced. But when the Sag side is getting a little too out of control, the Virgo side is like, all right, let's chill. And I give grace to both sides. They can both talk to me. And that is a whole lot about really understanding yourself. And this is how we heal, guys. Like, seriously, this is how we heal. We don't heal by trying to extinguish different parts of ourselves. We don't. We heal by accepting and hearing out all these different parts of ourselves and realizing that, oh shit, maybe there's a reason why I have these different parts of myself, and honoring that and not being so tough on ourselves for it, but just being like, all right, maybe I got these energies going on for a reason. How can I work with them together? Even though they square each other, they don't see eye to eye. They're both still mutable, and they both embrace change. Like I can work with what I got, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. And you can work with what you got as well, 100%. So your rising sign is important, and a huge part of that secret is just like, seriously, like knowing your rising sign will help you just know yourself. So Sagittarius, what more can we look at from there? Sagittarius is ruled by the planet Jupiter. Abundance, yeah. I am overly optimistic, and it can definitely get to a point where I'm overly optimistic to a fault. And I never like really understood that. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? Like, I keep trusting people. I keep trusting people. And so that was a part of me where I'm like, oh, okay, there's these really great qualities I have of myself, but like sometimes they can get out of control. Why is that? And that's something that I immediately could see because of my rising sign. So another benefit. And then so we want to look at Jupiter in my chart. So not only is your rising sign such a huge part of the self because it rules your first house, it's also like whatever planet rules your rising sign in your chart, that's going to be important. So on a day like this that I'm filming, Jupiter is currently in Gemini. And if a child is born today and is Sagittarius rising like me, they will be ruled by Jupiter as well. But their Jupiter in Gemini is what's like going to be pronounced. So for me, when I was born, Jupiter was in, drum roll, please. Jupiter was in Virgo, okay? Jupiter was in Virgo. Yes, more Virgo. So Jupiter in Virgo is the ruler of my chart. So me in this lifetime as love is I am ruled by Jupiter in Virgo. So we look at that and a lot all of a sudden started making sense in my own life. So this is like, these are things again where it's like, okay, whatever that means for you, but that's exactly what it is. It's like astrology is so personal where I can see that. And as an astrologer myself, I know what that means for me, right? Jupiter doesn't particularly like to be in Virgo. A lot of the situations that I've gotten myself into that haven't been the best have stemmed from me overextending myself, over helping myself, being overly optimistic, Jupiter, in circumstances of people who I am trying to help, Virgo. I get it. So whilst I can definitely do so much with Jupiter and Virgo, and my largest of largest dreams surround me helping people, even what I'm doing right now makes sense for someone with my placements. At the same time, there can be a downfall to it. So there can be that, again, that push and pull, that yin and yang that we want to work with. I don't want to get to a place where I'm like, I don't want to ever want to help people because people always screw me over. But I can get to that place. And unfortunately, that would take me away from who I am because so much of who I am is helping people, right? Jupiter and Virgo. So how can I balance these energies where I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that's too much. I can use a Virgo in me to assess the situation and fix the problem within myself. Self, first house with the Sagittarius energies. And how can I still also just give freely and, work on growing those parts of me, those energies where I can just give, but not to a point where it's exhausting me, right? And then I don't want to give anymore. So this is what it means for me because this is my chart. when you are looking at yours, I can see, oh, look, you're a Leo rising and you were born in Gemini season, you know. So the Leo is your first house. It's all about yourself. You probably want to be seen. You probably want to be in the spotlight because the sun wants to be seen. And you were born in Gemini season, so your sun is in Gemini, and that is going to be the main thing for you. Maybe you are an artist of some kind, you know? And we would then look to see where that house is. So for Jupiter and Virgo, then that Jupiter for me is in my 10th house. So then I look at my 10th house and see what that says. And like, these are how steps we take to get to know ourselves. And obviously, all this other stuff may sound like, oh my gosh, do I have to learn all of that? Obviously, you don't have to learn all of that. There are a lot of resources, including myself. I am an astrologer. And like I said, I'm a healer as well. So I do focus on astrology that leads towards healing. I mean, one could argue all astrology leads towards healing, but if you're coming to me, then you're probably coming to me in regards to that. There are definitely a ton of different astrologers who do different things. Some, a lot focus on love and synastry. While I can do that, I feel like healing that starts with self is something that I do try to start with. And yeah. And so that's what I offer. And so if that is something that you are interested in, that's something I can guide you through while looking at your personal chart. Other than that, even just like if you know your sun, moon, rising, if you just look at your rising and a little bit more, embrace it a little bit more, like that, like I'm saying, it's so much a part of who you are, and it rules your first house, which is your house of self. So start looking at it from an angle like that. And the last thing I wanted to touch on, whilst there's so many other things you can touch on with your first house and your rising, was if you have any other planets that are in your first house. So, like the example I used before, if you are a Leo rising, Sun in Gemini, and we'll say Mercury in Leo, and so Mercury would be in your first house if your Mercury was in Leo and your Leo rising. That is going to be amplified, whatever planet is there. And in Hellenistic astrology, Mercury loves to be in the first house. So maybe you are an artist, a poet, right? Like to be seen on stage and using your voice. And Gemini is ruled by Mercury too. So Mercury is a prominent planet for you. Like your voice is huge and you need to be heard and you need to be seen. For sure heard, you know? And so that is like, that's an example. So if you do have other planets there, it's huge for you. I have my North Node in Sagittarius and my lot of fortune as well. But my North Node being there this is why I'm here. You guys are seeing me because you need to be seeing me. Otherwise, a Virgo in me would have consumed it and be like, let me just have an office job for my whole life. And it's crazy because little quick story, I've always wanted an office job. I've always just wanted to work away from people by myself in my little office, like, or even like The Office, the show The Office, because I love it. I love it. I love it. I've watched it probably, I'm not even exaggerating, over 50 times. So all 9 seasons too. I don't even skip out on the ones that Michael's not in. I'm in all of it right to the end. And then I started over again. But I haven't watched in a while because I've been busy and the Sagittarius in me has been winning. But like I've always yearned for an office job and I never have had an office job. I have always worked with people. I've been like all the different jobs I've had have been with people, and people have had to see me and talk to me, and a part of who I am has been a part of like most of my jobs and how effective they are. So life has been grooming me for this because I have to be seen, but life has been grooming you for something else too. And let's embrace these things rather than trying to silence them or shame ourselves or get into a victim mode. I know we've all been through stuff on a different scale. And life is so hard. Being a human is like, holy shit, why am I here? But we are here for a reason. Let's just figure it out, and we can figure it out together. So again, welcome to the Astrology Podcast. My name is Love. I will put my information in the description box. You can catch me on Instagram for socials. That's about it. I'm 31, so I don't really even understand TikTok. Catch me on Insta. And if you are interested in booking a birth chart reading and starting your journey of healing and coming back to yourself, you can definitely send me an email, astrologywithluv@gmail.com. That again will also be in the description. And on Instagram, you can add me on there. That way you can see what kind of a person I am, what kind of an astrologer I am, see if I vibe with you, or you know what I mean. And if I don't, that's cool too. With love, you can keep it moving, and find someone who vibes with you, because we're all different. But I'm definitely unique. So check me out on Instagram too. And I'm not even saying that to be cute. I'm a little eccentric. Astro.blaze.music. Again, that'll be in the description. I hope y'all have an amazing day. Take it easy.